we had 1,000 leads, nobody wanted to follow up with. So it's now sending outreach to mainly those people. Like it's still working that, again, it's newer, so it's still working that list of 1,000. I also capped it, right? Whereas like Artisan's doing 3,000 a month, it's doing 3,000 a month on month 6. Like AgentForce is very much on, I would say, month 1, at the end of month 1 going into month 2. So I've capped it, so it's still emailing those 1,000 people that we ghosted. But then I also started adding people where if I have a conversation with them, for like a deal cycle, it starts to email them a follow-up, because sometimes I'm really bad at that. So between those 2 use cases, what we've seen, and this is early days, is a higher response rate so far and a huge open rate. Like the open rate of 72% is freaking high. You can't get that in Marketo. You can't get that with a human that doesn't send that email. The open rate is 0, and equals 0 for an email that was never sent. And so even though it's early days, I'm fairly bullish on this one because the early data is pretty good. So I have liked it for that. I think it's a good use case that more folks are getting into. Okay, versus, again, support is their number one kind of like agents and where most people deploy. Fine, whatever, but our qualified does support. So like I wanted one that did sales, and you'll see I put 2 sample emails here. This was like a follow-up email to, again, somebody we ghosted. And for this agent, because it's early days, I haven't empowered it yet to do bookings itself. So that's why it's asking for a meeting versus like just showing a direct booker. And Kyle responded literally right away and said, no thanks, but I'll attend. Again, never would have happened 6 months ago because our sales team, nothing against it, they just decided not to follow up with these 1,000 people. And so yeah, you could say maybe I started with a use case that is low hanging fruit. Sure, but why wouldn't you? I already have so many use cases on the other agents that we use, that I wanted one that was near and dear to me, because I was like, well, if I inbounded to somebody and they never followed up, I'd be salty. I'm like, maybe because the AI has data of, them being in our Salesforce and what their company has done with us, maybe they can send them like a nice note, like, so I don't know. That's where I went into it. The other thing I'll say about AgentForce, which was the learning, is there's 2 slides there. So if you're flipping ahead on the deck, because somebody asked this earlier actually about the setup of it, like it is within the UX of Salesforce, right? So my biggest learning was like, I will admit, I am not the greatest Salesforce user on planet Earth. I was not the greatest user 6 months ago. I've definitely become a better user now in this process, but I was by no means like, I'm not even certified. I'm not even certified. Like I know that like a lot of people, like I'm not Marketo certified either. So like, but I would say like in my rankings of tools in our stack 6 months ago, I would say I was a lot better at Marketo than Salesforce, and I pushed a lot of things from Marketo to Salesforce just because that's what I was trained on in the early days as a marketer versus Salesforce, which was a sales tool. Only back in the day, right? They just wouldn't give you access, and so I didn't know all the like nooks and crannies. I learned a lot of them in this process, and so I think there's a misconception on like it's super technical and nobody can get it to work. That's like the number one thing I hear. But honestly, one, I had help with all these platforms. Like Artisan helped us set up Artisan. Qualified helped us set up Qualified. Salesforce helped us set up AgentForce. Like all of these, it wasn't just me. Like we did a lot of the training and tuning once we knew how it worked, but they helped us with the setup. That's not vendor agnostic right now. And I think it's true of any good vendor in AI right now. They do have to help you, and they should want to help you get successful. Like they want you to have the same numbers and results we have.